Alright, let's go ahead and get started. Today we're going to be looking at Lesson 2-4, Multiplying Rational Numbers. And our objective for this lesson is to learn how to multiply fractions, mixed numbers, and also decimals. Alright, these are the examples that we're going to be working today. If you notice, both 1 and 2 are fractions. Okay, and 3 is a decimal, and 4 is going to be fractions again, along with 5. Now, remember, whenever you're multiplying fractions, we multiply straight across. Whenever we're multiplying decimals, we multiply and count up how many digits are behind the decimal, and you'll see that whenever we work our examples. Let's take a look. Alright, our first example here says 9 times 1/7. Remember, the parentheses here mean times. Okay, remember our parentheses here just mean multiply. Now, before we can multiply, we're going to have to convert this 9 right here into a fraction. Well, anytime we have a whole number and we want to convert it into a fraction, all we have to do is put it over 1. So, all we really have to do here is put 9 over 1, then we're going to multiply that times 1 over 7. Okay, now we multiply straight across. 9 times 1 is 9. 1 times 7 is 7. So, I get 9/7 as my answer. Now, I'm not done yet because I need to simplify that. So, if you remember, to simplify fractions, we are going to divide up, or your numerator is going to fall into your division box. So, we're going to have 9 divided by 7. Okay? And our 7 goes into 9 one time, which gives us 7 with a leftover of 2. Now, we're going to put the leftover, this 2 right here, we put that over the number that I divided by. Okay, so since we divided by 7, our answer would be 1 and 2 over 7. Okay, so our answer for this guy is going to be 1 and 2/7. Alright, let's take a look at our next one. Alright, so let's take a look at number 2. Now, on our second example here, we have 2/3 times -5/8. Well, just by looking at that, we already know that our answer is going to be negative. Okay, so now we need to actually figure out what this is going to be. So, let's take a look. We're going to have our 2/3 times our 5/8 equals, well, another reminder here, whenever we're multiplying fractions, we multiply straight across. Okay, so 2 times 5 is 10, 3 times 8 is 24. Okay, so we end up with 10 over 24. Now we need to simplify that, because I know that 2 will go into both of those. So, divide both the top and the bottom by 2, which is going to give us 5 over 12. And that's my answer. Now, oh, wait, the negative. I forgot about the negative. Don't do that like I did. So it's actually negative 5/12. Now, let me show you one more way that we can do this. Okay, by reducing before we multiply. So if we have 2/3 times 5/8, just like what we have up there, okay, now if we look at the numbers that are across from each other, I mean like on the tops and the bottoms, say 3 and 5, and let's say 2 and 8. Now I notice that the 3 and the 5, they cannot go into each other. However, 2 and 8 can. Okay, because 2 goes into both 2 and 8. So I can cancel before I multiply. I can divide both these numbers by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, so that 2 becomes a 1. And 8 divided by 2 is 4, so that 8 becomes a 4. And now we multiply straight across, just like we were a moment ago. Multiply straight across. 1 times 5 is 5. 3 times 4 is 12. Look at that. I got the exact same thing as I did up here, except I didn't have to divide by 2. Okay? Now either way I'll get you the correct answer, so you don't have to do this if you're uncomfortable with it. Alright, let's take a look at our next one. Alright, number 3 says negative 0.47 times 2.2. Okay? Now when we're multiplying these, we really don't even really care about the decimals at first. Okay, we can forget about those decimals that are even there and just multiply like we normally would. We'll just multiply 47 times 22. Okay, now when we do that, I'm going to multiply 2 times 7, which gives me 14. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Drop down my 0 here. Again, 2 times 7 is 14. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Alright, so, alright, so once I have that, now I'll add those guys up, which gives me 4, 9 plus 4 is 13, 9 plus 1 is 10. Okay, so I end up with this number right here. I have what looks like 1,034. Well, that number is way too big. If I look at this and I was just estimating, I know that this 0.47 right here is, you know, almost half, or, you know, let's say 1, and I know this over here is 2.2, so I mean I know that 1 times 2.2 is 2.2, so I know my answer has to be smaller than that, so this 1,034 is way too big. So, what am I going to have to do? What did I do? Well, what I need to do is I need to figure out how many numbers I have behind the decimals in my problem up here. And let's count. I have 1, 2, 3. So I have 3 numbers behind my decimals. Okay, which means I have to move my decimal 3 places to the left. So if I start my decimal right here, move it over 1, 2, 3. That's my decimal placement right there. So I know that my answer is going to be 1.034. Okay, now, how do I know that? Well, remember I have 3 numbers behind the decimals. 3 numbers behind decimal. Since I have 3 numbers behind the decimal, I move my decimal 3 places. And we'll talk a little bit more about that on some of your examples on your homework tomorrow. Alright, let's take a look at our next one. Alright, number 4 says evaluate 2.5 times x for x equals 4/5. Alright, well, what we're going to do here, if you notice, I have a bucket of popcorn over here. And the reason why I have that bucket of popcorn over here is because we're going to have to use our popcorn rule. What is our popcorn rule? Well, first thing I'm going to do is substitute my values into my variable here. I guess it would help if I wrote down the right number, wouldn't it? So I have 1/2 times 4/5. Oh, good gosh, I got a bad case of it, don't I? 4/5. Now, we can't multiply 2.5 times 4/5. We have to change 2.5 into an improper fraction. That's where our popcorn rule comes into account. Okay, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply 2 times 2 and then add 1 to that. So, this is times plus. I had a student a few years back say, oh, well, that looks like a piece of popcorn. So, we kind of coined it the popcorn rule. So, let's convert this 2.5 into an improper fraction. Okay, 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So, 2.5, written as an improper fraction, is going to be 5/2. Times 4/5. We can multiply straight across. 5 times 4 is 20. 2 times 5 is 10. Which, as you guys probably realize, we can divide both those by 10, which would give us 2 over 1, or just 2. Okay? Now that's our answer for that one. Let me real quick talk about reducing before we multiply. Again, if you look at our numbers here, 5 goes into 5 one time, so we could make both of those 1. And you could also do that with the 2 and the 4. 2 goes into 2 one time. 2 goes into 4 2 times. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. And that reduces down to 2. All right. Let's take a look at our next one. All right. Our last example. Again, we're going to have to use our popcorn rule on here. Well, I got the nice bucket of popcorn over here. And we're also going to have to turn that 4 into a fraction. So, again, we'll simply just put that over 1, and then we'll multiply that times 9 2/5. Okay, but remember, we can't multiply that times 9 2/5, so we have to use our popcorn rule here. Multiply down here, add up here. So, 5 times 9 is 45, plus 2 is 47 over 5. And I'll just put my 4 over 1 over here. Okay, so we end up with 47 times 4, and then 1 times 5. Well, I don't know what 47 times 4 is off the top of my head, so let's work that out. 47 times 4. 7 times 4 is 28. 4 times 4 is 16, 17, 18, so we get 188. So I end up with 188 over 5. Okay? Yes, we do have to simplify that now, so let me erase this so I have some more space. So I need to divide up, just like what we were doing earlier. Okay, so I'm going to have 188 divided by 5. 5 goes into 18 3 times, which gives us 15. 18 minus 15 gives us 3. I'll drop down my 8. 5 goes into 38 7 times, which gives us 35 with a remainder of 3. So now remember, we have to take the number that we divided by, put that under our remainder, which remainder is 3. So this is going to be 37 3/5. The number we divided by under our remainder. That's how we get our fraction right here. Okay. Excellent. Some of these can be difficult, but we'll look at them tomorrow and we'll work through some more of them, and I think you guys will do well.